What's going on, movie fans? My name is Michael Weer. I love talking about movies, and we've officially made it to the end of the second month of 2024. That's right, it is the end of February, and I'll be completely honest, it is crazy that we're already at the end of the second month. Like, how is it already March? But that's a good thing because March has some very promising looking movies, and the first 2 months of this year have been a drag. There have been a few good ones, but not many, and March looks very promising. If you want to know what's coming out in March of 2024, well, I have an upcoming March release video that will be dropping on March 1st, so be on the lookout for that. But because it is the end of another month, it is time for us to rank all the brand new releases that I had a chance to see in February of 2024 from worst to best. And just like in my other previous ranked videos that I've put on my channel, I may not have seen everything that dropped this month, whether it was streaming, whether it was in theaters, and I just didn't have time to get to it. So if I missed something that you had a chance to see, let me know what it was in the comment section down below and where you would rank it with the other movies that you saw this year. Because remember, it's not just about my list. I'd love to know how you rank the month as well. With all that said, let's get into ranking February of 2024 from worst to best. I ended up seeing 7 brand new movies in February of 2024, and at number 7, the worst of the worst, the movie that I just could not believe I wasted my time on is Driveaway Dolls. Now, Driveaway Dolls is the only movie in this video that I didn't do a full-length video for. I did a YouTube short for it. I've talked to some people in the comment section, but I never got a chance to do a full-length video, so I just figured I'd talk about it a little more in this video here. So here we go. Driveaway Dolls is about a couple of girls who are on a road trip to Tallahassee to get away from their normal lives, and they end up intercepting a case, and that case has something in it that a bunch of gangsters want, and so hijinks ensue. Now, this plot isn't a brand new plot. This is something that's been done forever, where people get something they're not supposed to have, and then hijinks, or maybe it's a serious movie, but people are after them. So again, it's nothing brand new, but the trailers looked like a good comedy. It's from Ethan Coen, one of the Coen brothers, and I was like, all right, maybe this will be a good comedy, maybe this will be a fun time. And I feel like part of the reason it felt like it was dragging was because every 10 minutes there had to be this weird sex dream featuring Miley Cyrus. It just felt completely out of place. They never explained why those dreams were happening throughout the movie. So you've got this plot that I was interested in, but they spent so much time with other things that ultimately led nowhere, it felt like it dragged. On top of that, it was supposed to be a comedy, and I was really hoping to laugh in this movie, and the moment they do something with Pedro Pascal's character at the beginning of the movie with a corkscrew, I was like, oh no, this is going to be slapstick comedy that is going to be forced laughter from me, isn't it? And sure enough, it was. And the whole movie was just slapstick comedy that didn't work for me personally. Now, I've seen a lot of people online say they really enjoyed this. They laughed out loud the entire time. And hey, those people may enjoy different things than me, and that's fine. But for me, Driveaway Dolls is number 7 and the worst of February 2024. At number 6, guys, Madam Webb. Now, had I not seen Driveaway Dolls, this would have been the worst thing. If you've seen it, you know about it. If you've heard anything about this movie, you know how bad it is. Bad execution, bad writing, horribly delivered dialogue. The characters feel robotic the entire time. The movie has very little going for it. The only reason I put this movie above Driveaway Dolls was because at least it was in the superhero genre, which is a wheelhouse I'm familiar with. That by no means is me endorsing Madam Web or saying it's a good movie at all. This movie was trash. This movie had very little effort put into it by the director, by Sony, by the actors themselves. I didn't feel like I wanted to be at the theater about 15 minutes into this movie, and that was a very bad sign. Madam Web is one of those movies that I'm sure will be on my worst 10 of 2024. At number 5, guys, we have a big disappointment. The first gigantic disappointment in 2024, and that is Argyle. Argyle is directed by Matthew Vaughn, who directed Kick-Ass, who directed Kingsman, a guy who knows how to blend action and comedy so damn well. And so when I saw the previews for Argyle, I was like, it's got a great cast, it's got a great director, feeling Kingsman vibes to this, let's go. So the movie is about a woman who's writing these spy novels, and it turns out that anything she's writing actually happened in the past or is happening right now. And they don't know how she's doing it, but they need to get her before the bad guys do. So again, it's a fun setup for a movie, and it's got a great cast, including Henry Cavill, John Cena, Sam Jackson, Sam Rockwell. Like, it had so many talented actors in it. I was like, how could this thing fail? And then I saw this movie, and while the first act was okay, I enjoyed it, the rest of this movie is just a quick spiral downward, leading to the last act, which has a scene where the main character of this movie pours oil all over a concrete floor and then shoves knives in her boots so that she can ice skate around a concrete floor. Like somehow the oil made it okay for the knives to ice skate on a concrete floor. It is one of the most ridiculous scenes, but not ridiculous in a, oh, well, it's Matthew Vaughn being crazy with Nicolas Cage kind of ridiculous. No, this is just ridiculous to the point where my brain hurt when I finished watching this movie. Like, nothing in this movie was appealing. Nothing in this movie makes me want to go back to it. And honestly, going forward, when Matthew Vaughn is attached to something, I'm going to consider, like, do I even want to see this movie? Because I've been burned a few too many times by him now, and this movie might have been the last straw. Argyle is number 5. And number 4 is a movie with a cool concept. It was called Out of Darkness, and this is a movie about a bunch of people living 45,000 years ago here on Earth, traveling through the wilderness. They're a bunch of cave people, and they're looking for a better cave, while something is stalking them in the forest. It's actually a really cool concept. Felt like it had Predator vibes, just without the kick-ass actors that are in the movie Predator. So you've got the setup, though, of the people walk through the forest and this thing picking them off one by one. It's an interesting concept, one I was excited about. I went and saw this movie. And there's a few things that really held this movie back for me. First and foremost, and most importantly, is the artificial language that they used throughout this movie. I didn't feel like it was necessary. So they created a brand new language for this movie and then subtitled it in English so that you could understand what they were saying, but there was really no need for it. I understand the idea of, like, artistically, like, they wouldn't have spoken English. Okay, I get that. Nobody would have all the way back then, but to just give them a fake language, and then when they said certain words, it sounded like the English words, I was like, you might as well just use English. I could have gotten through that in my brain. Like, I would have been like, all right, they didn't have English back then, but I want to understand this movie, so we're good. It didn't make any sense. So that, to me, was the biggest roadblock for this movie. I just, my brain couldn't handle that. Otherwise, the plot twist at the end of this movie didn't work for me. And it's just another movie where I go, well, I get why they released this horror movie in February. Kind of dropped it, let it die, move on. Because the plot twist in this movie doesn't end up being anything exciting. There was a moment where this movie could have been great, maybe even made it to the top of my list, and it just fizzled out from there. And I was like, that's disappointing, which is pretty much what February felt like. So it's nothing new for February, but yeah, this horror movie is one I won't go back to. This won't be very high on my end of year horror list either. At number 3, guys, we have a comedy, Lisa Frankenstein. And Lisa Frankenstein, the best way I can explain it is it's basically like an 80s slasher throwback movie with a Tim Burton style. That's the best way I can put it. And as far as this movie goes, I had moments of this movie that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the look of this movie, so it wasn't hard to look at. Like, I thought it was some of the scenes, some of the 80s nostalgia that was in there worked for me. But overall, the plot about a girl who just doesn't fit in with society ends up resurrecting a Frankenstein monster-esque person who comes to life, and then they go on a killing spree of random people in their town so that they can get body parts for this Frankenstein monster. Really just didn't appeal to me. Like, again, we're at number 3 now, and I'm not having a good time with the month. So you can see how February went. But Lisa Frankenstein is a movie that I wouldn't necessarily recommend, but it's only because it didn't work for me. I do understand, though, that this may become a cult classic. It may be something that people love down the line, and they're like, I don't understand what that Mike guy's talking about, because this movie was great. And that's fine, because this is a movie that specifically not my style movie, like, at all. While I love the movie Sleepy Hollow, that is a Tim Burton movie, I'm not a huge Tim Burton fan otherwise. So I just didn't even have that going for me. I couldn't even look at it and be like, wow, I love the Tim Burton stuff. Because, I mean, I appreciate it, but it's just not my thing. And then the story itself, I didn't know who to root for. Like, they were killing innocent people who weren't really doing anything wrong. I mean, she had a bitchy stepmother that they killed, but you didn't feel like, oh, she deserved to die. Like, it was like, it's just kind of a bitchy mom. Oh, okay. And so she got to die. And so there wasn't a reason to really root for Lisa Frankenstein or her Frankenstein monster creation. And the end of the movie just ends with this magical suntan bed that by the end of the movie, I was ready to leave. So Lisa Frankenstein, number 3. At number 2, guys, we have a very heartbreaking yet heartwarming at the same time Hulu released movie called Suncoast. And this was a decent movie. Not one I think I'd go back to, but a decent movie, one I would recommend to people. It is streaming on Hulu. You can check it out there. It's a movie that stars Woody Harrelson, Laura Linney, and Nico Parker. And Nico Parker plays the daughter to Laura Linney's character in this movie. They have a brother/son that is dying of brain cancer and is at sort of a hospice home to live out his final days. And Woody Harrelson plays a character that's at the hospice home for something else that's going on there that I don't want to spoil here, because I think it was like when I learned that in the movie, I was like, oh, all right, well, let's see where this movie goes. Might have some interesting subtext to it, and it does. I thought that all of the characters in this movie really dealt with life and death very well, and you kind of see what a mother goes through, see what a sister goes through, and then Woody Harrelson's character in particular has previously lost his wife, and so he's there at this hospital again for other reasons, and you kind of understand all of their perspectives and why their perspectives start to change throughout the movie. For some people, it's letting go. For some people, it's embracing life. For some people, it's just heartbreak. And again, I think that movie can work. I enjoyed this movie. It's a decent movie, but it's so heavy that it's not one I could just go pop on. It's not one I'd be like, oh, let's watch Suncoast. I want to show this to my friends. It's a movie I'd recommend, but it's heavy. So I warn you there. So Suncoast, number 2. Finally, guys, we get to the last movie in February of 2024. This is probably the only great movie, or the movie I feel like was great in February of 2024, and that is Land of Bad. This movie was a lone survivor style movie, not a concept we haven't seen before. Soldier goes out on a mission with a bunch of other Black Ops soldiers. They all get shot up until only he is left, played by Liam Hemsworth. He has to fight his way out. And the fight scenes in this movie, the war scenes in this movie, they're incredible. The hand-to-hand combat in this movie is incredible. The stakes in this movie feel real. And what makes this movie so special overall is Russell Crowe's character. Russell Crowe plays sort of a dad figure in this movie. He is back at the base and he's flying the drone over top of the mission and in communication with Liam Hemsworth the entire movie. And so I think that there's a good back and forth between him and Liam Hemsworth. He sort of helps the audience get to where they need to be while Liam Hemsworth is dealing with the action portion. By the end of this movie, I was at the edge of my seat. I highly recommend this movie to everyone. You need to go check this thing out. I think on a big screen would be great. You could wait for this movie at home. I think that's the only drawback, is like, you could wait for this movie at home. You've seen war movies at your house before. You'll be fine. But if you want to go to a theater this month and check something out, I would recommend Land of Bad. It's at number 1, and that is my ranking for February of 2024. Guys, if you've seen any of these movies and you've got thoughts, you've got comments on them, throw that in the comment section down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, because it helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. All right, guys, we got to the end of my February 2024 ranked list. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to drink some tea. Pure Leaf Tea. They don't sponsor me, but they should. With that said, though, guys, if you enjoyed this video and you want to check out more content on my channel, well, I've got all of my 2023 movie reviews right there, and I've got all of my 2024 movie reviews right there.